January 15 every year is set aside to commemorate the Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Nigeria. It's a day for the government and people to pay tribute to their fallen heroes and heroines who paid the supreme sacrifice at various theaters of war and to those who continue to serve to protect the country. In Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari led other top dignitaries in the laying of wreaths at the cenotaph of the unknown soldier and the release of white pigeons signifying peace. This is his last attendance as Nigeria's president. State House correspondent Adesua Omoran reports.
Colorful yet solemn. Military parade on a day to honor brave men and women who have served to protect Nigeria and those who have paid the supreme sacrifice in the line of duty. Dignitaries and service chiefs arrive in hierarchical order to the National Arcade in commemoration of the annual Armed Forces Remembrance Day. President Buhari is the last to arrive at the venue. It's Buhari's last attendance of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day as Nigeria's president and commander-in-chief of Nigeria's armed forces. He takes the salute and inspects the guard of honor. The president then leads other top dignitaries, including the vice president, leaders of the National Assembly, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and service chiefs, among others, to lay wreaths at the tomb of the unknown soldier. As a mark of last respect to the fallen heroes who paid the supreme price to keep global peace and safeguard the nation's territorial integrity, volleys of shots are fired to salute their courage. A minute of silence was also observed, after which President Buhari signed the register. He also set free doves to connote peace, a commodity the nation earnestly desires to sustain its democratic journey, one reiterated by praying clerics.
Lord, we pray that at this time when Nigerians are preparing to go back to the polls to elect their leaders, let there be peace and let there be smooth transition to the new government.
Oh Allah, we beseech you to bless our country Nigeria, grant her peace, security and prosperity, guide and guard our leaders, grant our soldiers victory over our avowed enemies.
Speaking on the sidelines, the Chief of Defense Staff assures the voting public of a safe election next month while reiterating the armed forces' support for civil rule.
Government of the people, by the people, and for the people in Nigeria has come to stay. That is an assurance. And then, of course, for the elections, I'm sure you know that the police is in the lead. I have been discussing with the IG, and of course we have also made contingencies should we be required to give support to the police as the election is conducted. I think for Nigerians, you are well rest assured that the armed forces remain solidly behind the police to be able to give them all the support that is required.
The widow of one Air Office personnel who died in active service is appealing for a quicker facilitation of benefits and support for families of fallen heroes, as many of their dependents are languishing in poverty after losing their breadwinners.
It has started taking a longer time to compensate the family. Before it would take a shorter while, but now it takes a longer while. So families have to wait, keep waiting or keep calling or try to cross the line. But if it's possible to, mine didn't take time, thankfully, but I've seen others in this situation and they've been complaining that it has taken a very long period. Mine was between a month or two, but some is stretching to 9, going to a year now, which is really not telling good on them. But I feel everybody is trying their best to do what they can do. Hopefully they get to settle people.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day also marks the formal end of the Nigerian Civil War, which came to an end on January 15, 1970, with the surrender by the separatist Biafran army leaders. The day, which reflects the peculiar experience as a nation for Nigeria, not only commemorates the end of the Nigerian Civil War, but also serves as a reminder to all Nigerians to guard jealously the integrity, the peace, and the unity of the country as we once again file out to a general election next month. From the National Arcade, venue of the 2023 Armed Forces Remembrance Day, Adesua Omoruan reporting for Arise News.
Oh, thank you very much, Adesua, for that report. Mr. K, it was so good to see the solemn, yet, as was described in that report, colorful Remembrance Day, Nigerian Remembrance Day. What's your take on this?
Well, I guess this is worth remembering because these are the heroes of our nation. These are the people that have done well for Nigeria. They have laid down their lives so that we may all have peace and we may have safety in this country. They are the ones that have made it possible for us to enjoy the level of peace that we have in the country at the moment. And I do recall that 2021, I think, when General Irabor was made the Chief of Defense Staff, I met with him, and one of the things we talked about is what's going to be the focus of the Army going forward. And I remember that he said he wants the Army to become very professional. He wants the Army to be as professional as possible so that their focus is not political appointment. Their focus is not anything else other than guaranteeing the territorial integrity of the nation. And I think they're working on that as aggressively as possible. So it's good to see him saying that our democracy is secured because of the kind of training that they're giving the Army. And we're hoping and praying that the political leaders will take example from that and will just put in all the money that is necessary, all the financing that is necessary to give the training and the ammunition that the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Armed Forces will require so that they can do better for us.
Thank you very much. Let me just talk about the history, because some people might have seen us wear the poppy, and I wore it deliberately today, even though by yesterday, people had stopped wearing it. Just the significance. I recall someone saying to me that, oh, is it because we started wearing it over Christmas? Or was it because of Christmas, the color red? So it demonstrates that a number of people do not understand the significance. Now, Armed Forces Remembrance Day worldwide is celebrated on the 11th of November, marking the end of the First World War. However, Nigeria adopted, following the end of the Biafran War in 1970, the date January 15 in commemoration, like you mentioned, of peace, just honoring, number one, the soldiers who have fallen. It's also to honor servicemen who are still alive. They're called veterans. And also to, like you said, have it as an opportunity to remember that the peace that we enjoy today was paid with a heavy sum by some people, the ultimate price. Especially at this point in our nation, where we still have some servicemen paying the ultimate price in warring regions like the Northeast and other areas, and to remember them and to give them the honor that's due. And then hence you would see why, when it comes to the Armed Forces Remembrance Day and the laying, the symbolic, very symbolic laying of the wreath, we have the president leading that procession, also reviewing the guards, the March of the Guards, and across states, because it's celebrated at federal, state, and local levels, you'd see that the governor of the state is leading the honor of these men. And then also, just to mention and just to point out to what the widow of leader Victor Uba, who was killed in an ambush during a joint operation in Kebbi State on July 7, 2021, said about the welfare of the widows and families left behind by these soldiers. We cannot claim to honor them if we do not look after those that they have left, because usually the victims, or perhaps people who suffer the most when they lose their lives, are their immediate family members. And the greatest honor that Nigeria can pay to them is to ensure that those that they've left behind are well looked after. Oftentimes, when you speak to a number of servicemen and who are going to war, they are concerned about the family members they could potentially leave behind. And so it's important that they face that. And then to what the presidential candidate of the Labour Party said, Mr. Peter Obi, that we have to accept the fact that the war has ended. I thought that was a very powerful statement to make, particularly along the fragile lines of ethnic divisions in today's Nigeria, that the war has ended. May we look forward, honor the dead, and also begin to build the peace and unity in Nigeria.
Yes, and God help us.
Yes,
God
amen.
help us.